this is Saturday Jessica. You guys are getting Saturday Jessica. And Saturday Jessica wears homey clothes with her headscarf and no makeup. I was too tired for it. Your girl's got like a 9 to 5, actually a 9 to 2, but still, your girl's got a job now, which means the weekends are free for her to be her. But that doesn't mean we're still not going to have a good time with me talking about these books that I read in January and the ones that I loved and didn't love. So let's get to it.
I'm outside in an AMG, right outside, TT.
Okay, so there were 10 books on my January TBR, and I read 8 of them. Actually, I read 7 that were on my TBR, and I read a 8th book that I replaced with one of the books on my TBR and 2 I DNF. You know what? I am making this way more unnecessarily complicated than I need to. So let me just shut up and explain to you guys what I mean, and we'll get to these books, okay? Okay. By the way, welcome back. Hi, bookworms. Missed you. Loved you. Thanks for being here. Okay, so 2 books that were on my January TBR I DNF'd. The first one was The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenhas. Oh, who cares? It doesn't matter. Either way, this was the most interesting and boring book I have ever read. Like, the concept was outrageously interesting, but the execution boring as fuck. Like, I got to 103 pages, and I was just kind of like, do I still want to keep going with this? I love, stories about messing around with time and, in unique and interesting ways, which this book was doing. However, the writing style itself it wasn't a slog, it wasn't dragging, it was just mid. And like, I just felt like, hey, this is a mystery and we're talking about time travel. Let's pick up the pace. Let's keep it going. But I just, it just reached a point to where it was just becoming like a chore to kind of get through it. And I was getting annoyed by that. And I was just like, okay, you know what? Let's put this aside and pick up the other books on our TBR, read those, see how they go, come back to this. But by, next thing I know, I looked up, it was January 30th. And I was just like, oh shit, I need to move on to my February TBR in like 2 days. So I was just kind of like, we're going to for the sake of the month of January, we're going to say we DNF this. But I'm actually going to TBD this. I might pick this back up for March for Women's History Month. No guarantees, but I am going to hold on to this and try it again. Like I said, the story itself was really interesting and I really wanted to know what was going on, but how it was told wasn't keeping me interested, The other book I DNF'd is The Ballerinas by Rachel Kapeliki-Dale. When it comes to ballet, ice skating, or gymnastics, I'm always immediately interested in whatever the story is. So that's me. That's why I grabbed this book, especially given that there's supposed to be like a murder mystery in it. And I have never been so fucking bored. I DNF'd this shit because it was really boring reading about 3 middle-aged white ladies and some supposed mystery of some shit that happened when they were kids or whatever. And it kind of felt like the book knew it was boring. That's why I kept dropping these like tiny little nuggets, these tiny little hints every now and again. Of, hey, this is still a mystery. There's still something to be solved. There's this weird kind of murder backstabby thing that happened in the past. Keep reading. So I got up to chapter 9 of reading this before I realized that I am not interested. I'm not interested. Matt Haig's How to Stop Time kind of got pushed aside. I'm really sorry, Matt Haig. I'm going to hold on to this book and read it at some point in the future. I don't know when. Don't judge me. Maybe next January. That's how far. I don't even know when I'm going to get to this. But I chose to read the other book that I bought at Barnes & Noble instead of Matt Haig's How to Stop Time. So I did not get to this. But I am going to hold on to it. And like I said, some point in the future, I will fucking get to it. Promise. And what book did I substitute Matt Haig's How to Stop Time with that I got at Barnes & Noble? Well, it was Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. This book and its entire series has taken BookTube and Book Talk by fucking storm, and it's a little annoying. It's and it's a little annoying because everybody's just so aghast by it. Everybody's just so, oh my god, the alien sex book, and I'm just kind of like, do y'all not read fan fiction? Do y'all not have Wattpad accounts, AO3 accounts? Like, what is wrong with y'all? This is nothing. This is beginner level erotica. What is wrong with y'all? Do y'all not read fanfic? Why are y'all clutching pearls about this? It's good. I enjoy it. I really did enjoy it. I gave it a B. But this is what y'all got y'all jaws on the floor about? Y'all don't read fanfic. Y'all don't read fanfic, and it shows. Shame. Devil in Disguise, Book 3 in the Wallflower series by Lisa Kleypas. Okay, so you guys know that I read in November, It Happened One Autumn, didn't really care for it, but two of the characters in that book, I found out get their own romance, which are the male and female leads of this book, who I absolutely loved in It Happened One Autumn. I didn't like. Okay. What can I liked how it started. Like, the first half of the book, I was in it. I was like, yes, all of this. The second half of the book just turns into really tropey historical romance. Like, it just got super tropey. It just got super predictable at that point. And I was just kind of like, man, it felt uniquely different in the first half. It felt like it was, it was telling a historical romance story, but in a different way. And then halfway through the book, it just got super tropey. And I was just kind of like, man, I thought we were doing something a little different, but I guess not. It was like trope bingo. That's what it was. It was just like, how many of these can we get in a row during the second half? It was like that meme. They had us in the first. Next on this list, we have Station 11. I gave this book a C, and that was because the last third, but no. I'd say the last fifth of this book, like the last few chapters of it, just this book is blue balls. That's what this book is. Like, there's all this fucking build. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, and I apologize. Okay, basically what happens is a pandemic, which turns into an epidemic, hits the planet. Same thing. It's like COVID. It's a disease. It spreads like wildfire, killing damn near everybody. Of course, there's some people who survive it and are left on the planet, but for the majority of the planet is dead. This book takes place 20 years after that happened. So after, the majority of the planet is wiped out. You're spending all this time with, I want to say about 6 to 7 characters. And again, like I said, pre-pandemic, they were all just, they each had a connection to each other, whether they realized it or not. And it's all culminating in what seems to be a really heavy act of violence towards the end, which does happen, but it's just, it's executed so anticlimactically, it's annoying. And so you end up with these blue balls. Because first off, you're thinking all the characters are going to converge in this one spot, in this one area at this airport that is being, I don't want to say overran, but being lived in by surviving citizens of the planet. Or surviving citizens in America. Because the airport, I think, is in Michigan. Yeah, it's in Michigan. And two of the characters are trying to get there. A large group of the characters are trying to get there. And there's all the characters who already live there. And you're following all of them as they're attempting to reach this airport. And there is a villain, an antagonist, who's also attempting to get there as well. And his presence speaks a lot about this impending doom and violence that you're anticipating. And when that happens, it's just so anticlimactic. And the main character is robbed of the moment, which fucking sucks. And also, it happens only with that main character there and not with all the other characters as well who have a connection to him. It's, I don't know. It was, like I said, it's just, it was blue balls. I gave this a C. Like, 2/3 of this book, great. The last third, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that was really anticlimactic. That was really boring. I don't believe I read this entire book with all this tension and build up and that shit didn't happen. Like, all the characters didn't meet. They all didn't converge in this one spot. And the impending doom, the violence that occurred was just really meh. It was really blah. And like I said, the main character was robbed of engaging in that violence with the villain. It was annoying. And I mainly read it because I want to watch the miniseries. And after I finished the book, I watched the trailer for the miniseries. And even the trailer, I could tell that they changed a lot of stuff. And they changed something very huge in the book. That they changed something in the book. And I didn't like it. I don't think I'll care for it. I don't know if I'll still check out the miniseries because of that. It's a huge thing. The thing being that they're in the miniseries they changed it to where these two characters are always together, but in the book they're not. They're separated. But I don't know. I'm fucking rambling. It doesn't matter. I gave this book a C because it was just literary blue balls and I was really fucking annoyed. Timekeeper by Tara Sim. Yeah. It's just okay. I gave it a B-. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it. It was just okay. And I don't think I'm going to continue with the series. There are other books. It's a series. There are other books in it. Not really caring. I don't think I'm going to go further with it. It is a YA sci-fi romance. I don't know why it's categorized as a romance as well because there was very little of it. It was PG as fuck. There's probably one kiss and a bunch of hand holding and cuddling. And I was like, the plot was the most predictable thing ever. I was kind of annoyed with myself. I wanted to stop reading this a few times because I had already figured out the whole mystery. I figured out the whodunit. I figured out the why. Like, I already knew. Like, legit, after the first third of the book, I was like, I got exactly what's going on. I know who did it and I know why they did it, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to keep reading this. I don't know if I want to keep going on with this because I know I'm right, which I fucking was. But that's mainly why the book was just kind of meh to me. I just kept reading to find out the end if I was right, and I fucking was. It's very Victorian and very steampunk, which I enjoyed. A mechanic. So it's about this young prodigy mechanic who knows how to fix, repair, take care of watches, clocks, all that. Anything that has to do with time. And every town has a clock tower. And every clock tower has a physical being that is the personification of time. And they're the watchers of time, and whatever happens to the clock tower happens to them, vice versa and stuff. So our protagonist needs to take very good care of the clock tower because taking care of the clock tower means taking care of time. And if time is taken care of, it's not screwed up, then time itself won't be screwed up within the town. There's one town that has their personification of time. Their person was stolen from the clock tower, and therefore that entire town is frozen in time, like literally frozen in time. Like around the entire borders of that town is frozen, and all the people within it, and they haven't been able to get in or get out for years now. And our protagonist, his father, who he learned all the mechanics of time from, is also a mechanic who was repairing that clock tower to find out what was wrong with it. And then the personification in that tower was stolen. He got frozen in there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. time is personified, and our protagonist falls in love with the personification of time that's in his clock tower in his town. The only reason it's not a C is because the concept itself was interesting. It was just blandly executed. Next, I read The Rehearsals by Annette Christie. This was really good. I was actually very surprised that I liked this. I mean, I was hoping, fingers crossed, that I would, but I actually really did like this. And I think the reason I ended up liking this so much is because the characters are flawed. It's not just this goofy, quirky, silly little romantic comedy that has this Groundhog Day element to it. It really is trying to say something about these two people, about relationships, about familial relationships, about understanding each other, about communication. It really is a dissection of not just these two people's relationships, but like how even in what you think is the greatest relationship ever, there are always secrets that are kept. There's always room for improvement. There's always, things that need to be changed. There's always things bubbling under the surface, and like just because a relationship is perfect from the outside doesn't mean it's perfect on the inside. So they're getting married and on the San Juan Islands. He comes from a very wealthy, overbearing family, and she comes from a very dysfunctional lower class family, and their families clashing brings up a lot of resentment between the two of them, and a lot of secrets that were being kept from each other, and they end up repeating and living this day over and over and over for a number of weeks, from what I understand, until they really just get it and understand and really begin to see each other properly and communicate with one another. I like that the ending's not ambiguous, but it's hopeful, and that's what I liked about it too. I thought we were going to have this tied up in a nice, neat little bow ending, but the ending doesn't, the author does a really good job of just making you go, there's hope for these two. It may or may not work out, but we've got hope for them. I thought it was really mature. I think that's what I'm really honestly trying to get at, is that this book was more mature than I thought it would be. And because of that, I ended up enjoying it a lot. So I gave this book a B. The next book that I read was Spinning by Tilly Walden. I have, like I said in my TBR, I have heard nothing but really good things about this book. I didn't exactly know what it was about. I just knew that there was ice skating on the cover. Again, ice skating, gymnastics, and ballet. If either of those things are taking place, I'm interested. This is a memoir. I didn't know it was a memoir. I just thought it was, a fictional, interesting little coming of age story, and no, it's Tilly Walden's memoir, and she is so honest in it. It also explores her sexuality, and how her family and friends react to it. It explores an unfortunate sexual harassment and assault she experienced when she was a minor from an adult. Oh my God, there's a scene in it where a mother is actually really nasty and mean to her. Not her mother, one of the other girls' mothers. And I think she physically grabs her as well. And given that this is a memoir and that actually happened, that shit terrified me and fucking pissed me off. I don't know why I didn't think that a graphic novel could also be a memoir. I think that's a really incredible and interesting way to tell your story through pictures. And seeing it that way, and she drew these pictures herself, and she had to she told her own story with her own hand, and I think that's just so goddamn interesting and so brave and just really beautiful. So I honest to God love this thing. I understand why everybody and their mom absolutely adores this. It was so good, and I commend Tilly Walden of putting herself out there. Next up, we have Every Day by David Levithan. Yeah, I said it right. Because remember in the TBR video, I was getting it wrong. I was getting it so wrong. Really like this. I mean, I knew I would because the concept was just so interesting to me. But I really did like this. Um, our female love interest occasionally got on my nerves. Because I just didn't get it. Like, you know how sometimes you read a love story and you just can't see why this person, why the protagonist is so in love with or so obsessed with this other person. You're like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, what are you seeing in this person? Like, I don't get it. So occasionally that happened. So occasionally I was just kind of like, this girl really? There were, times where she was, just annoying, and I felt like he was just placing her on this gigantic pedestal. And I think I felt like his motivation or his feelings for her were so strong just because he simply one day decided to do something out of the norm, despite his unusual and non-normal life. And I keep saying he, and I apologize. It should be they because our protagonist is genderless, which is also a very big thing in this book. And I thought that was so interesting being explored. Because okay, so again, getting ahead of myself. Basically, the book is about this. They're not a person because they don't have a steady body, but so I'll say a soul. The soul of a person that since they were born has hopped from body to body to body, and it's always with someone that's their own age. And they could wake up in Hawaii or Indiana or France or Japan or whatever. It varies. However, for the sake of this story that's happening here, our protagonist manages to always be within like a 4 hour distance of their love interest. This human soul bounces from person to person, and it's been happening for years. And it's been happening for about 16 years because there's 16 at this time. And again, they can only travel within the body of a person in their own age bracket. And one day they transfer into the body of this boy who has a girlfriend, and they can immediately tell that this relationship is on the rocks, or it's unsteady, or it's toxic. It's just fucking toxic. They always have these rules of never really disturbing or getting too involved in the lives of the bodies they inhabit. They just go through the motions, through the day to day, and then once they fall asleep, they wake up in a different body and keep doing that. But for some reason, on this particular day, because the girl in the relation that they're in a relationship with just seems really uneasy and on edge and upset, they decide, okay, you know what? Let's just make today a special day for this girl, and hopefully, the next day and the next day and so forth and so on become better for her and the person whose body I'm inhabited. That's her boyfriend, and they have a great and lovely time, and it's fantastic, and they're both like just it's a dream. It's a wonderful day, and they're both fall in love with the day, and they both fall in love with each other. And with the concept of gender and sexuality being explored heavily in this book, which and the way it is, I loved it. I thought it was so good. One of the instances is that whenever they're in a female body, their love interest finds it very hard to be physically intimate with them, because they're female presenting, and they're not, and our female love interest isn't attracted to female presenting people, so it's very difficult for them to engage intimately with them. And our protagonist finds that not annoying, but like off-putting, because they're genderless, and they can't really conceive the concept of the person that they love not just seeing them, just their soul, and being hung up on the exterior. They end up in the body of a very, very obese teenager. And when they go and visit the female love interest, she's just immediately kind of turned off and off put by them because she's not attracted to the physical form of this person. And while reading it, you want to be mad and angry at her because you're just kind of like, bitch, are you being fat phobic right now? And our protagonist is very upset too, because it's just kind of like, it's still me. I'm just in a different body. You should be able to love me regardless of whatever body I'm in. And she's just kind of like, I don't know if I can do that because this is not a body I'm typically physically attracted to. But there's just all these really great conversations about physical attractiveness and gender and sexuality. And there's other hard conversations about abuse and suicide and drug addiction and just like it was just so good. It was so good. It's exactly what I want from a fucking YA novel. I just loved this. I just loved it a lot. I cannot wait to watch the movie. I just rewatched the trailer and I was like, yeah, this looks really interesting, but it got tomatoes. Apparently nobody liked the movie. 5 stars. A plus. A plus. A plus. This was fucking amazing. I loved everything that happened in this book. It was incredible. Loved it. This was my first read of January of 2022. And I hope the rest of my year is as good as this goddamn book. It was fucking amazing. Okay, so let me just tell you that it takes place in a small hockey town in Sweden. The town is very industrial and it's dying. But there's still a huge disparity of classism within the town. Haves nots, and there's very little in between. And hockey is the only thing that is tethering this town together. Everybody's love for it, everybody's worship of it, and everybody's desperation for it to bring financial stability back to this dying industrial town. So hockey is very, very important. It is their church in this town. Okay, that being said, the beginning of the book, I'd honestly say the first third of the book is a lot of setup of who these characters are, because there are a shit ton of characters. It is Game of Thrones Avengers level many characters in this book. However, once you figure out who everybody is, once you get to know them, it's easy to catch up with, and it's cool. It's fine. So the first third of the book is a lot of setup. The last 2/3 of the book is the plot, the story itself, which is the daughter of the hockey team's general manager in this small town is sexually assaulted by the star hockey player on the high school hockey team. They have an adult hockey team, they have like the little peewee teams, and they have the high school boys hockey team, which is renowned throughout the town because they have just been killing it. So they're just undefeated. That's what I meant to say. They're undefeated champions. So they are worshipped in this fucking town. And so when their star player, the captain of the team, sexually assaults the general manager's daughter, and she openly accuses him of the assault and goes to the police about it, all fucking hell breaks loose in this town. And if that's all triggering and horrific to you, I totally understand. Don't fucking read. But I just loved it, and I found it interesting. And it reminded me of that documentary about those 2 girls where the same thing happened to them. They were sexually assaulted in their small towns by star athletes in their towns, and the entire town turned against them. And I think, unfortunately, both girls ended up committing suicide later in life because regardless of how strong they tried to be, how much they tried to persevere, it just was too much, and their PTSD just, wrecked them, and they had a lack of support. And they unfortunately took their lives because of it. Apparently HBO Nordic had produced a miniseries of this book. And it is on American HBO Max right now. I had attempted to watch after I finished this book, I was like, I'm watching it. I'm watching it. I have to. I got 20 minutes into the first episode and I was really annoyed. I really was. They made a lot of significant changes from the book. And as a screenwriter, I completely understand. With adaptation, there sometimes you have to make things interesting for storytelling purposes, for visual storytelling purposes, and some things that are in books can't communicate well through a different medium, and so you have to adjust or change things. Totally get it. I understand. I know how adaptations work. I get it, and you can't put everything in. However, I think when you the point of doing adapting a book into a miniseries is that you don't skip over anything. You get to tell the exact story that's in the book, but that's a whole nother argument. But anyway, I say all that to say I totally understand why the changes were made. I just didn't like them. Yeah, I got 20 minutes in and I was I was annoyed with things that were happening. Enough about the miniseries, which I am going to eventually watch because I love this book so much, and I'm just getting in my own way. I'm getting in my own fucking feels about it, and I really should watch the miniseries, so I'm going to get to it eventually. But I ramble and I say all that to say, please read this book. It's so good. I need to talk about it with somebody. Please, 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 please. Please. Yeah, those are the 8 books I read. The 2 I DNF'd and the 1 I did not get to. But I had 4. I have 4. I'm just looking at the book. I have 4 really fantastic reads, and I had 3 that were just okay and 1 that was good. So that to me is just that's a pretty decent reading month. That's pretty good. I mean, to have 4 books that were just knocked it out of the park out of 8, that's really good. So yeah, I am happy with that. Ooh, wait, I'm doing the wrong side. Okay. Hair was just, woo. Thank you guys so much. I hope you had a really great time listening to me babble about my books. I enjoyed talking to you guys about them. Wash your hands, wash your face, moisturize. Please, if you want youthful skin like this, get vaccinated, get your booster shot, and stay safe out there. Hope you're having a good one. Love you. Bye.
I'm outside in an AMG, right outside, TT.